Get some ratchet one time?
Look, I don't wanna talk. How you try and press the kid and read it, you was soft. All you know is capping, homie, you don't know the law. Pedal to the metal, you ain't catching me in park. I just hit the start. I don't.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Bleeding Edge. We are live Friday night, August 16th, to discuss the 1992 classic, My Cousin Vinny. Now, My Cousin Vinny, if you haven't seen it or you have seen it, it's basically a mixture of courtroom drama with comedy. And this film is just one of those films I cannot get enough of. I swear to God, probably in the last 6 months, I've watched this probably at least 20 times. I just absolutely love this movie. It's so freaking good. I have it playing on when I go to bed. I just have it playing on in the background sometimes. I just love this movie. Such a great movie. And most definitely worth the Oscar win it got as well. So during the 1993 Academy Awards, when Unforgiven ended up taking home director and Best Picture, the only nomination that My Cousin Vinny got was for Best Supporting Actress. Now, going up against such powerhouses at the time, in 1992, you had films like Howard's End come out, Lorenzo's Oil, all these big Oscar nom films. Marissa Tomei ends up taking the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, which I was really shocked. I when she won in 93, I was like, holy crap, really? I was really surprised. I mean, she really was like kind of a newcomer at the time. Like, this was kind of her big break, really, if you think about it. I mean, she was in other things prior to this, but this was kind of her big moment here, and she ended up winning the Oscar for this. So I thought that was so cool. Now, My Cousin Vinny was released March 13th of 1992, and was, I think a great film. And of course, I didn't see this in 1992. I didn't actually see this for the first time till probably about 3 years ago. Yeah, about 3 years ago, I finally watched it. This is the first time I had watched it. I had heard about it. I knew about it. I just never got around to watching it because I just watched so many damn movies. So I can't always keep up. So this is directed, of course, by Mr. Jonathan Lynn. Jonathan Lynn, you might recognize as the director of the film Clue from 1985. Jonathan Lynn has been at least last 40 years, he's made a ton of films. He's a great director, and I think he did a really great job with this. And I think that he had a good eye for what he wanted to bring to this film, and it just did a really good job. So this film had a budget of $11 million in 1992. So I thought that was a pretty big budget for, a early 90s film, especially a kind of a drama comedy, which I feel this was more considered a comedy than it was drama, but there really was a dramatic element a little bit to it, because of the whole courtroom sequences. And, I think for $11 million that I was really surprised at, how much this cost. I was thinking maybe 5, maybe 7 max. I didn't think 11, but, with big names like Joe Pesci, at the time, I'm sure they cost a pretty penny to get in the films, especially after, like, as Aston was saying earlier about Mr. Pesci winning the Oscar for Goodfellas. He was probably a hot commodity at this time, so that wouldn't be surprising. Thankfully, though, this ended up being a box office success. I ended up taking in $64.1 million in 1992. So I think that's pretty impressive on an $11 million budget. That's pretty good profit and a pretty good success. Now, if you're not familiar with the Rotten Tomato score, this is actually 87% Rotten Fresh, which I was actually surprised by. I thought it'd be a little higher, but I was impressed that it was at 87. That's pretty good. Now, like I said, this is a comedy, kind of courtroom drama type of film. We got, of course, Joe Pesci in it. We got Marissa Tomei, Maury Chalkin. We have the several late greats that were in this. This was actually Fred Gwynne's last film before he passed away in '93, who played Herman Munster. Absolutely loved Fred Gwynne. He was a fantastic actor. He did all kinds of things. He was in Car 54. He was in a lot of serious roles too throughout his career. Back in the 60s and even 70s, he did some more dramatic roles that were really impressive. He had a really great talent. He wasn't just all about comedy. So I really appreciate him in this film, and I love that this is his last film because I think he went out on a high note. It also has, the great late, what the hell is his name? Drawing a blank here for a second, guys. But anyways, great cast, lots of great people. Lots of, hardworking actors and actors at the time that were really big. James Rehorn was in it. He had a great part. I loved him in this film. And Austin Pendleton was absolutely hilarious as the court-appointed attorney. He was absolutely hilarious. He had the stutter and everything. And I think he doesn't get enough credit for how talented of a comedian he is, too, as well. All right. So my first question for you guys, when was your first time seeing this film? What was your overall thoughts the first time you watched it? And rewatching it recently, what did you find anything different? Did you feel any different watching it? And, overall kind of just like, would you recommend this movie, now that it's over 30 years old? Starting with you, Aston, Mr. Lapper.
I definitely recommend this. I would say this is homework for anybody who likes good comedies from like any era, 80s, 90s. It aged well. The delivery of Mr. Pesci is, it's out of here. Vinny Bag of Donuts is literally like part of the terminology now. Whenever you mention any random gangster, it's Vinny Bag of Donuts. I'm working here. Like, he just brought that, but it wasn't a caricature of what he did in Goodfellas or any of the other stuff. So he knew how to dial it back a little bit to make him more of a working class guy. First time I saw it must have been around 2000. I think I saw it the first time around 2000, 1999. And since then, I must have seen it 5-6 times, be it reruns, renting it. And then most recently with my ex-fiance, I forced her to watch it because she had so many gaps when it came to like 90s, 80s classics. And I was like, no, we got to sit here and watch this. It's like, oh, is that why you always got a chip on your shoulder? I'm like, yeah, it's Joe Pesci, the great saint, Joe Pesci, giving short guys a chance since 1990. But yeah, loved it. It was really nice going back through memory lane and remembering where I was and seeing the actors, like you said it yourself. Like, there was some guys in there, like, you wouldn't expect them to be in a flick like this at that time, but it all just came very, very well together. And watching it again after so long was just a blast. Thank you guys for having me on to talk about it. I really love this comedy. To me, it's a great, great comedy.
Excellent. Mr. Rath, same question, sir.
So actually, yesterday night was the first time I've actually seen the movie. Literally, when I first signed up for this movie, I was like, I need to get an excuse to just see something different. So that's why I just signed up to join here. I watch it, and I was just blown away by how great the comedy was. Maybe it's my maturity and life experience, or I don't know, but I was able to understand all the jokes easily. Like, whenever I watch like comedy shows today, it's like, it takes time to understand, but this movie, it's like easy, like, and I never expected that for a movie that's big on law, and I find law boring, okay, anything legal boring, this one was like very interesting. Like, I was even hooked. I even read a lot of law books in the past, like what is that one? The one with like the greasers and stuff. It was even a movie too. I forgot the name, but like that like law story was boring. So I'm so glad that Jeff inspired me to watch this movie. And I did some research on the movie, but I will discuss more about the interesting findings about the writer later. So that's all I'll say.
I read that book that they made a movie out of with the Cadillac lawyer or whatever. The Cadillac is that what it was called?
No, there was like
lawyer.
Wait, are we talking about the Greasers one, or what are we talking?
No, I'm saying I read a book that they made a movie with Matthew McConaughey based on the book.
Lincoln
Lincoln
Lawyer.
Lawyer.
The Lincoln Lawyer. Yeah, I read that. That was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Wrath. Jeff, same question, sir.
Yeah, Wrath, I just wanted to tell you I read a book, motherfucker. What's up?
Dude, I know you read lots of books, bro. Like, you have a huge bookshelf.
I'm showing the interpersonal side of the Bleeding Edge over here, motherfucker. Let's do it. So anyways, my Cousin Vinny, I've seen it 100 times. It was like on replay with my parents back in the day when I was a little kid. It was on replay all the time. So I watched it dozens of times. You know, like I know this movie scene by scene before it even comes on. Like I haven't watched this movie in over 25 years. And when I watched it, I knew exactly what was going to happen right after it was going to happen because I watched it so many times. So this movie is like the reason the humor is so relatable, Wrath, is because it's so simplistic, the storyline of it. You know, you got your New York lawyer, you know, New Yorker that's a brand new lawyer coming down south, right? Like that's your storyline. Right, that's your you know your ethos for the story, and it's a simple one, you know, like they use it really well. So the first time I saw it was probably when it came out on HBO or like on on rental or whatever, like back in the day. Whenever my parents would have got it, I saw it with them. So and then it became like a family movie that we would put on as kids, you know, like as like a put on the background kind of movie or whatever, we would put my Cousin Vinny on, you know, like in rotation. So, because that's how it was when we were kids. Like we would just watch whatever was our parents were watching. So, yeah, I watched this movie a lot of times, and it still holds up. Yeah, I would definitely throw my Cousin Vinny out there to like somebody that was in their early 20s or something like Wrath or something like that, you know, like the movie holds up. It, you know, like I mean, the soundtrack's a little rough at times, like, but other than that, it's great.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so as Mr. Jeff S. mentioned, this is, you know, basically about a lawyer really having his first case, just like you were saying. And this film was just so well written, so well directed. And like I said, I just can't get enough of it. And it's just so fun to talk about it because there's so many great one-liners throughout this film. There's so many great scenes. The performances by everyone in this were so well done too as well. And I loved how the film really felt like almost a real trial going on, but with that great comedy element to it, which it didn't feel overshadowed. Either side didn't feel overshadowing throughout the film. And that, I think, is another reason why this film is still so good today. And, you know, the fact that, you know, the powerhouse cast in this film just really drove everything home and gave us this really, I thought, well-rounded picture of what, you know, something like this would happen like. So the movie basically starts off with Bill Gambini and Stan Rothenstein stopping at a little convenience store on their way through Alabama. And they pick up some foods. And they pay, they leave, they're starting to make their way, and then Bill realizes that he put a can of tuna in his pocket and that he forgot to pay for it. And he's like all worried about it and stuff like that. And then as they're traveling, all of a sudden they get pulled over by a cop. And they're thinking it's because of them shoplifting. Well, once they get to the police station, basically they start like kind of like interrogating them and basically making it sound like they murdered somebody. And they still think that it's for a can of tuna. And as the cops are asking them these things, they keep saying kind of yes to certain things. And so the cops are thinking that they are confessing to murdering the store clerk who just got murdered. And so when they find out that they're being booked for murder and that they're going to be going to trial over this, they try to figure out, how to get representation because they can't afford it. So Bill ends up contacting his mother and asks if his cousin can help them out because he is a personal injury lawyer, who is Cousin Vinny Gambini. And so Vinny decides to agree to help the boys, and he makes his way to Alabama along with his fiancee, Miss Mona Lisa Vito, which I think is absolutely a freaking hilarious name. And so we get that great little scene where they're being put into the prison, and Stan is like all like worried that they're gonna be like turned into somebody's little bitch, as they're in the cell just by themselves. And Bill's like telling Stan, like, we're the only two in here. You're fine. There's nothing's gonna happen. And he keeps thinking that something's gonna happen. And so that's when Vinny arrives at the courthouse, at the prison to come visit, to say, that he's going to be their lawyer. And basically ends up, arriving and shows up into the cell and is like, hey, and kind of introduces himself, but doesn't really make it aware that he's Cousin Vinny. He just goes into the fact, like, let's do this, let's get this done with, type of deal. And Stan is like, is confused, thinking that he's gonna like rape him or something. And Bill's sleeping for some odd reason, and so they have this interchanging, conversation where he's like trying to like talk to Stan, and Stan thinking this whole time that he's gonna be like raped or something. And eventually, finally, when he's like, they're back and forth. Finally, Vinny's like, I'm gonna just wake up Bill, and he wakes up Bill, and Bill's like, Vinny, and they hug and stuff like that. And Stan finally realizes, oh, this is their Cousin Vinny lawyer. You just kind of crack up, and it's absolutely hilarious. So freaking funny. So we'll stop there. After they, meet with Vinny, we'll go into their actual kind of conversation there in a moment. But what did you think about the intro to the film? The whole situation, them thinking that they got pulled over because of a can of tuna. The introduction of Marissa Tomei and Joe Pesci. Them going to jail, that funny interaction with Vinny and Stan, and kind of just that first third of the film, or that little beginning of the film at the beginning. So I'll start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a really good opening in terms of how well it really prepares the film to be what it is, I guess. It flushes it out really well and establishes the use, as Joe Pesci's character says, the Utes or whatever. The Utes, it really makes gives you a chance to check out the Utes and shit, and establishes the police, and it's comical how the police scenes are comical almost. Like, where the guy's like, I shot him, or whatever. Like, I shot him. I'm like, dude, you're incriminating yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. What are you doing here? Simon, you were to set any drinking words for this show or what? And by the way, I'm wondering what the missing ingredient is right now. That's what it is. But you got to declare it if we're not going to play drinking games. So anyways, good intro. Good establishment of we're going as far into the establishment of the attorney, right? And Marissa Tomei.
You were going up to after Vinny comes sees them at the jail for the first time.
Okay, so
before up to the point where they have that funny interaction with him and Stan before they go to the room and have their conversation.
It establishes the Marissa Tomei's character right off the bat, you know, like so you kind of figure out who she is right from jump, which is important for the film to distinguish who the characters are. So that's done well. You get a quick, synopsis of sort of like the relationship between her and Vinny, and then the scene where Vinny goes to the jail is really funny. It's not like laugh out loud funny, but it's funny where the dude thinks that it's like a gay encounter or something like that. That's what's going on. The humor of the writing is really good in that scene. Like they wrote that really well. So that's like humor that stands up like across time. So yeah, that's it, baby. I'm out.
Okay. So drinking game. I just forgot. That's all. So drinking game words tonight will be courthouse, cousin Vinny, but you have to say it all together. You can say Vinny, but if you say cousin or cousin Vinny, that's a drinking word. Also, Marissa Tomei and Herman Munster or Fred Gwynn. That are the drinking words tonight. So, starting now. Click. All right, Raph, your thoughts on that beginning of the film?
Yeah, so where do I start? I mean, Jeff already talked about a lot of the fine points, especially with the bathroom scene. The guy just comes in, doesn't even introduce himself. So, all the fears about jail, the other guy is like scared. Okay, that's how you spell it. Got it. Okay, so about the introduction of that hottie. So we first saw her in Spider-Man No Way Home. I think that was the movie. I think that was the first movie where I saw her. And I kid you not, when I first saw this movie, I didn't even recognize it was her because she had like all the puffy hair, the Jeff, how am I busted?
You're frozen, bro.
No, I'm not. Cyber was like talking to me. He's like,
no, you are really blurry and out of focus, sir. And
can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Your video just is off.
What? No, you guys are playing. My internet's perfectly fine.
No, we're not playing.
That's okay. Just pretend the background is my face, like how Tim does it with his Jedi painting. Okay, so
we'll do that.
Let's do that. Hold on. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can still hear you.
Okay, so about the hot chick from Spider-Man No Way Home. When we first saw her in this movie, I did not even know it was her. Okay, she has a different hairstyle, all that stuff. I thought she looked like one of those like typical hot chicks from back in the day, right? So, no, I know my video's not frozen. I know it. I was looking at myself in the other camera. Anyways, but yeah, it's like I didn't even know that was her. So it's like the fact that she started to like skyrocket and become popular like Gen X and stuff just from this movie alone. I mean, hey, kudos to her. I mean, she had to wait until Spider-Man No Way Home just to be popular with Gen Z. So that was a very cool insight. And oh, yes, I have one more thing. So so I was watching an interview with the writer Dale Lautner, and you guys can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, and here's the interesting part.
Your sound's perfectly fine.
Okay, so I should probably turn off camera then. Okay, anyways, so about Dale Lautner. Okay, so the writer, he said in the interview that how he created the idea for the movie, I think it was just so unique how he just had a random conversation with a friend named Fred Fenster. Okay, and Fred was studying the bar exam and mentioned that he had taken it like 13 times before passing. And this sparked the writer's mind because he just had this random thought of like, wouldn't it be funny if you were driving through the Deep South, got arrested for a murder you didn't commit, and the only lawyer you could talk to was that guy. Like, that's just how the concept came, just from a random conversation from, random talk with a friend. It's just very unique, just how the idea of this movie came. We see it all happen in the beginning. So that is all I have to say.
Okie dokie. Mr. Aston, your thoughts, sir?
The best part of that, there's two parts which I'm going to mention. The first part, the best part, you all remember the phone call when he called his ma back out there in New York, and
Yep.
he's like, they do practice incest here, they're inbred, and everyone in the station is looking at him, and he doesn't stop. He just keeps going. He keeps going. Marissa was gorgeous till this day. I think everyone on the panel has had a hard on for this broad. Even when I was engaged, I'm like, sweetheart. She showed me a picture of what she looked like back then, like 7 years ago. I'm like, I don't care. Still, okay. End of story. Okay. She's like, why? I'm like, because this is the best fantasy movie ever. Because a girl that tall going with a guy who's 5'4", that is the fantasy. Okay. It is the best thing that really got me. And the second part is when they were doing the back and forth. He's like, listen, man, I didn't come here to get jerked off. You're getting fucked either way. Like, that was the part where that kid's face, I was like, yo, bro. Because I'm like, imagine us guys there, bro. You and me, Cyber, we would have been like, our ass to the wall. Like, we ain't doing nothing. We ain't showering or taking deuces. Jeff would have been there with a razor under his tongue, ready to go. He would have oiled up like the guy, Family Guy. It'd been like, catch me if you can. He lethal like that. Jassim, I don't think he would even be there. He would have shoveled out like Shawshank style within by halfway through the movie. He don't roll like that. But yes, the intro was amazing. It really endears you to all of the characters. Billy, Steve, everybody did their part. The one thing that did throw me off was by law in every state, they actually have to, when they bring you in and take a statement, whatever, they actually have to tell you what you're in for. And that's the one thing which was like, and even Legal Eagle, that guy, the big YouTuber, when he did his thing on this, he failed to mention that. And then you see in the comments a bunch of lawyers like, bro, we love this movie, but that beginning part, they needed to tell both those guys, you're in for murder. You know what I mean? Like, out the gate. But I get it. It's Hollywood, so it didn't rub me too bad, but it was hilarious to see all, because the supporting guys turned out to be great actors later on. So it was just great. The intro endears you to everything. It breathes life into the setting. Even when they were talking about mud in the tires at that beginning scene, like when he was just like, oh, you got mud in the tires. How would I get mud in my tires? Like the way he just asked it, like that smart ass New York. I was like, all right, bro, Uptown is down south right now. Loved it. Intro was amazing. I'm punching out.
Excellent. Thank you, Aston. Great job. Everyone, 1,000,000 points for everyone. Good job. Good job. Yeah, I mean, him saying about how we could get mud in his tires was absolutely hilarious. Because it's exactly just like how I feel somebody like Vinny would, oh, I said Vinny though, so I didn't say cousin. Oh, anyways, cousin, drink. So he that was a great scene there when he's talking about how he got mud in his tires, and he's like, how did I get mud in my tires? Like in that beautiful accent. So he did such a great job. It was just perfect. And yeah, who didn't have a hard on for Marissa Tomei at this time? Even now, I mean, when she did The Wrestler in 2007, 2009. She was absolutely freaking amazing looking in that too as well. I mean, even today she looks great. She has just always been a looker, and I have to agree there. And her introduction was just fun. Her great 90s outfits throughout this whole film were absolutely hilarious too as well. Very, very, wonderful looking. I mean, they absolutely were so 90s, and I crack up because even my mom wore some of that shit. So it was kind of going back in the day, seeing this. I was like, I'm like, holy shit, that's so ugly. But anyways, I'm like, I don't know what we're thinking there. I mean, there was some great clothes from the 80s, some early 90s stuff, but like most of it, it was hideous. I'm sorry, it was just hideous. Jesus Christ, I don't know what we're thinking. But anyways, so moving on. So after Vinny and Bill hug, they go into the room for where they take the inmates and their lawyer can talk. And basically they're asking Vinny questions, and he basically, tells them that he just passed the bar, and he hasn't won any cases yet, other than a few injury lawyer ones, and that he's kind of pretty much fresh out of the field. And so they're kind of worried a little bit about that, him handling a huge murder case. But, he's there, he's family, and, we got to try what we can. And basically, we end up going and we get our first little trial judge thing going on. We meet Chamberlain Holler, who is played by, like I said, Mr. Fred. And who is like I said, a great actor, and this was a great final act. And we get introduced to him, and basically Vinny and him have kind of interesting camaraderie going on here. They basically have kind of like their intro session to before they go to trial, to get know each other a little bit. And Vinny's able to fool Mr. Chamberlain into believing that he is this experienced New York lawyer who works under the alias Jerry Callow. And basically we end up we go to the court for the preliminary hearing, and Vinny shows up, of course, in his normal New York clothes, and the judge doesn't like how he's dressed. You're not very formal. You're in my courtroom and you need to be dressed in a suit and tie. And, he basically gets, is holden to contempt for unprofessional attire and attitude and ignorance of the courtroom, basically. And he's basically ends up, being sentenced to the prison that day. And after finally he says that his clients do not plead guilty, and we have that great scene there where the judges try to get him to say not guilty or guilty, and we have that great kind of funny back and forth between Pesci and Judge Chamberlain, and it's so freaking funny and so well done. And basically, like I said, he gets sent to prison, and then we have to have Mona basically bail him out, which is basically using up all their money that they have brought with them. And so after that, we of course we get to see Jim Trotter III, who is the prosecuting attorney, present a strong, although circumstantial, case against the boys, as he's telling the panel of panelists there that are going to be judging the case. And basically he offers that they have several eyewitnesses to the involvement in the murder. And so Bill and Stan, of course, become concerned when Vinny basically doesn't cross-examine them at the preliminary hearing, or really says much to the panel, and just says everything that guy said is bullshit, which was absolutely freaking hilarious. And basically, so at that point, Stan's like, I don't want Vinny, I want to hire a public defender. And so they end up bringing in John Gibbons, who, like I said, is played by Austin Pendleton, who's absolutely freaking hilarious. So basically, we have kind of like these in between when Mona Lisa is trying to kind of insert herself to help Vinny out and things, and he of course says no, and it basically says, there's really nothing you can do. We have him basically say that he's going to try to trick Trotter into giving him information or sharing evidence with him about the case. And they have that great kind of conversation in the hotel room. The faucet's dripping, and they have that kind of back and forth, like, why is that dripping? Why don't you go fix it, Mona? And she's like, it was already doing that, and stuff like that, which was really funny. And so then, he's basically saying that he's gonna, trick Trotter into doing this stuff, and that they're gonna go hunting and stuff like that. And she's like, "You're gonna go hunting? What the hell are you gonna go hunting for?" And he basically says, I don't know, animals out there and stuff like that, deer or something. Like, you're gonna shoot an innocent deer, which is absolutely freaking hilarious how she says it. And basically we have that great conversation there leading up to Vinny ended up going to see Trotter. And so basically at one point, Lisa, she's been reading one of the lawyer books, and Vinny notices this, and he's like, I don't want you reading that. Like, you don't need to read that. And she's like, that he's able to give you, he's supposed to legally give you all that stuff because it's a part of the law. They have to share that stuff. And that's blah, 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 whatever she says, some really fancy word. And, so we have that great kind of sequence, which is really funny. And which is after he has gotten the information from Trotter. All right, so let's see, where am I here? Yeah, okay. So we also, this is the section where Lisa grows frustrated with Vinny because he promised to, several years earlier that they would get married when he wins his first case, and is worried they never will. Vinny is also eager to prove himself to his mentor, Judge Malloy, who convinced him to go into law. So we get kind of a little bit of a backstory of Vinny there a little bit too, as well as this is going on. We get this kind of interesting information and kind of a background on Vinny a little bit as well. So before we move on past that, when we get into the trial, leading up to that, all the great, funny, silly things that happen. We also have that great scene when Lisa mentions to him how this guy owes her $200, and they go to the bar, and he says he's gonna fight him and stuff like that. And he's like, "You're gonna fight me." He's like, but I still won't get my $200. And basically gets all this, they get this funny thing going, and eventually they end up tricking the redneck guy into like procuring the money, and then they'll be back and stuff like that. So great sequence as well there too. So what are your guys' thoughts on that section of the film leading up to kind of the beginning of the trial? Starting with you, Jeff.
Well, this is like the body of the film. This part, or of the film, is like the body of the film. And coming off of the intro, it does a good job continuing to evolve the characters in the film, in the scope of the film, and continuing that involvement, for the audience, so that you have that evolution of the storyline and the characters along with it throughout. Does a good job with that, of spreading it out to where you see all of the different factions. Like you see the district attorney, well acted. You see, the judge a lot, right? He's a big fixture. And then of course you see, Vinny and Marissa Tomei's character. So it's a good section. Some good humor. The shit where they keep getting woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning over and over again is funny.
Wasn't it 5:30?
It was different times. But Joe D killed it on this one. He killed this one. They did a good job. Whoever casted him for this did a great job. They did a really good job putting him in there, with Marissa Tomei. That was a great combination.
Excellent. Mr. Khan, welcome back first off. And your thoughts kind of on that middle kind of portion of the film leading up to the kind of the first day of trial.
Yeah, so thanks for welcoming me back, first of all. So appreciate that. Okay, let's just start with that scene after the first whistle, because that was the part that was most memorable when they like go into that bar, not bar, like a breakfast club, whatever, cafe, and like you see the menu is just so simple: breakfast, lunch, dinner. I'm just like in my head, I'm like, is that how menus were like back then? Of course they weren't, but it was just funny. And then they're like, yeah, we'll get the breakfast. And they see this dude. He grabs a bunch of lard, puts it on the stove. And I just remember in my mind, I'm like, as someone who doesn't eat pork, I'm just like, yeah, I would just, tell him, hey, take my money, I'm gone. And then he's like, and then the guy, Vinny, he's like, don't you guys have a big cholesterol problem here? And the guy's just acting all confused. It's just so funny. Like you see like the cook, he's just like, he doesn't ascribe to all this like fancy New Yorker stuff, like he's just simple. And then the New Yorker, Vinny guy and Lisa, yeah, they're all like, where's the Chinese restaurant and all that stuff. It's just funny to see the dynamics, how they interact. And there's just so much appreciation in that one scene, even though it seemed a bit minor, but like the way how they portray it, like New Yorker versus Southerner, like very great, very accurate, very amazing. And I was disgusted with the lard. That's probably why I remember it so well.
The lard was the best part. Good old lard.
They should use vegetable oil, man, or butter or ghee.
Yeah. No vegetable oil. Do the butter or ghee, but yeah, no vegetable oil. Ugh. Anyways, good job there, Mr. Rath. Aston, same question, sir. Your thoughts?
For me, I love that scene too, because like my mom still makes eggs with lard out here. I love it. Like eggs, just like I know it's haram, man. Like I get Jassim on his end. Like I love my eggs with lard. For me, the parts which held it together leading up, because when he didn't ask any questions, like that part really built the tension up, because there was nothing. He was coming up, sitting there, and just watching these guys. No question. I'm like, whoa, is he out of his depth? Like first time ever watching it, I was like, whoa, is this guy really gonna just roll over? But he was just so composed. But even then, he shows, like, not in front of the court, obviously, but with him and Lisa, the way they were going back and forth. And he was like, how much more pressure are you going to put on top of me? Like when the jailer was showing the boys, like, yo, this is where they keep death row, and how he was like, that it doesn't work and that they have to fry a guy 3 times. Like all of that really was like, okay, Joe Pesci gets that this is high stakes. The humor is definitely well done. Like there's nothing, like I can't add anything to what Jassim and you already have touched on. Like the humor is done so well to bring this urban couple into this environment, and how he navigates it is just, it's amazing, from his posture, from the way he like looks at the judge, and talks to him like he's not your honor. I don't think he said your honor once at all till now. Even then, he didn't mention it. But Joe really does a great job in that scene where he like talks back to Lisa like, hey, like I get how serious this is. Like, hey, I want to marry you too, but can you add any more to what I got on my plate right now? Because it clearly isn't enough. But the best part definitely was the waking up at 5 a.m. every time, from the steam whistle to this place where they moved. Like just everything is waking this poor guy up. Yeah, I loved it. It really pulls the plot along without it feeling forced. Everything seems organic, and the chemistry between the two of them. Like, because let's face it, in real life, there's no way a girl like Lisa's getting with Vin, right? It ain't happening. But the way they sold it, like, you believe it. Like she deserved the Oscar. She deserved the Oscar for having to sit in that bed with the dude. And yeah, that middle part it really does well leading up to the trial to show you what stakes are at hand, humanize Pesci's character in a way that didn't seem, heavy-handed, and at the same time show that relationship dynamic while navigating the setting. All of it just came together real well. I'm sorry, I felt like Tony Robbins right there with the hand gestures. My bad, guys. Punching out.
Excellent. Thank you.
I
Good
don't
job.
know, Cyber. I like to humanize with them hoes by like giving them that soul punch. You know what I'm saying? That hard good deed. The soul punch.
The soul punch. Okay.
Yeah,
The soul punch, people. There you go. A new true knowledge word. Soul punch.
that's right.
Excellent. Awesome. Good job, guys. And an extra 1,000 points for Jeff for that soul punch comment. Good job, sir. I mean, so great sequence here that we go through. I mean, we have that great scene too. Besides the diner, we got that, the intro, the pre-trial there, and how we get introduced to Stan's new lawyer, John Gibbons, and their little conversation was actually kind of super hilarious. Nobody mentioned this, I felt, and he's just kind of like Stan's talking to him, and he's like, no clue, I have no idea. He's like, we will try to win. I don't know if we'll win, but we'll try. And you're just kind of like, this is a good fucking lawyer. Goddamn, like what is he doing here? Like, this could be so much better if if you actually seem to care, Mr. Court-appointed lawyer. But Austin Pendleton played that so well. It just was freaking hilarious. And, I thought that he was a perfect choice for the character. And I feel that you've done that several times, sir. I don't think that just one time. Anyways, hilarious sequence. All right, so we go to the first day of court. Vinny shows up in a suit because the judge keeps giving him a hard time about what he has to wear. And the original suit he had actually ends up getting dirty, unfortunately, because while they're staying at Trotter's cabin, unfortunately, Vinny falls in the mud, gets up and goes open his truck, and then accidentally flings the suit into the mud. And so because there's unfortunately no cleaners open, he has to find another suit. Well, the only suit he can find is in a secondhand store. And so he has to basically explain this to the judge, either I wear this or that jacket you absolutely hate, and he just, you have that great moment, which is super funny to start off the thing. And so, basically after he sits down and he's there with Bill and Stan and John Gibbons, and basically he's like, the judge is like, I don't like your attitude and stuff like that. I hold you in contempt. He's like, what's new? And he's like, what'd you say? It's like, what? Like what? And he's like, what? I'm like, what? I don't understand what you're talking about, basically. And he's like, okay, never mind. It's like, and so basically the trial begins, and Trotter kind of makes his statements like that, and has his one witness, which is this is Maury Chalkin, who has supposedly seen from his house these two boys, that they were the ones coming out of the store after the owner had been shot. And so basically he's asking him a few questions, and they ask him, and then it's Vinny and John's turn. And so John gets up to do his thing, and we find out that he has this really bad stutter, and he's like trying to ask things and declare things to the panel, and he's like, today I'm going to show you that fact, and stuff like that. And we have like this whole stuttering speech that goes on for like 5 minutes, and you're just like to today, Junior, and you're just like, holy shit, this is hilarious. And finally, he sits down, and Stan kind of just looks at him and is like, "Well, that went well." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." And so the Vinny basically gets up and kind of makes a brief presentation, and then leaves it at that. And so when they start to talk to this witness, both John and Vinny basically gonna end up talking to him. And of course, John's talking to him, and he keeps on stuttering and asking him these questions, and ends up basically finding out that the glasses this guy was supposedly wearing or just reading glasses, and that he's able to still see very far away. He's farsighted, not nearsighted. And so basically, after he's done talking, Vinny gets up and starts talking to the guy, and basically ends up making a great point that proves that this guy could have been mistaken because of grits, which we ended up finding out that when they were at the diner, that grits take 20 minutes to cook, and yet somehow this guy cooks them in 5 minutes. And so they have this back and forth conversation about grits, and basically eventually, the guy says, I admit it. I could have been mistaken. And basically Vinny leaves it at that, and Stan sees how it's getting better with Vinny, and just fires John and goes back to Vinny. And so we have this great kind of hilarious thing going on with this guy, Morchak, and stuff like that. And it just works out really well. And so basically, like I said, Vinny ends up defending Stan again. So the next day, Trotter produces a surprise witness after their successful day there, an FBI analyst named George Wilbur, who testifies the tire markings at the crime scene match those on the boys' 1964 Buick Skylark. Although Vinny makes him admit that the tires are most used in America, basically he tries to, ask George basically if, how can, if any car can have these, they're one of the most bought tires in the U.S., how do you not know that this could have been somebody's other car, that somebody else had the exact same tires? And they kind of leave it at like, it could be, it couldn't be kind of deal. And so then the judge decides, after, Vinny makes his first attack at George Wilbur, orders a lunch recess and denies Vinny's request for a full day's continuance to properly counter Wilbur's testimony. But unfortunately, him stressed by the lack of his sleep, and he lost Wi-Fi, he said. Excellent. Anyways, so he'll be back. Anyways, so basically, he's all stressed out by the lack of sleep and hollers hostility and low funds, and he's basically, upset that he might lose the case. He basically ends up lashing out at Lisa at the diner. So after they have that great scene, he's like, oh, let's look at these pictures. Oh, look at this. Oh gosh, it's me. You solved the case. I'm in the shower. And all that kind of stuff. And he's like going through the photos, and basically Lisa gets mad and storms out. And so after she storms out, he goes after her. And so then we basically end up going back to the courtroom. So before we go past that, let's talk about kind of that beginning portion of the trial. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Starting with you, Wrath.
Yeah, so I think just what you said, Cyber, that whole like section, it really helped me understand why a lot of people tell me that Cousin. Oh, did I just say a drinking word?
Yep, Drake.
Haram, my brother.
It's water, Habibi.
Oh,
Dude, I always drink water from a mug, man.
Love it. I love it, bro. I love it, bro.
Thank you,
Love
man. Okay, so the Cyber, as I was saying, like with this movie, a lot of people like before I watched it, a lot of people were telling me like, just know this is a comedy, but it's also legally accurate. Like even a lot of these people who say for bar, want to be lawyers, all that stuff, they watch this movie. This movie inspires people to be lawyers themselves. They see Vinny and how like, inexperienced he is, but we all know how it ends. And that like inspires so many people to watch it. And especially what you said, Cyber, like that whole chunk of meat, you're just seeing that Vinny is improving. Like he just passed the bar, has no experience, and he's learning as he's going. And I think Lisa said, I forgot which scene exactly, but I do remember her saying like, you're just learning as you're going. Who taught you this? And then Vinny's like, law school? I think he said something like that, and how like in law school, you're just learning as you go. And Vinny's kind of like taking that literally in real life, even though his relative and friend are like about to have the death penalty and just everything, like being creative, thinking about the tire marks, the timing of making a egg, I think, or sandwich, whatever. Wow. Like inexperienced, very creative, learning as he goes. And at the same time, just making it realistic within the legal field. I'm not a lawyer myself, but when I see this, everything makes so much sense. And, it's not complicated, easy to understand too. So yeah, just in general, Cyber and Aston, like we can all agree, like this section is where you can really see they have accurate legal depiction, whatever you call it. I don't know the term. That's all I have to say.
Awesome. Aston?
Definitely, I'm gonna have to agree with Khan on this one because it, like, for a lot of John Grisham movies, like The Firm, all their legal thrillers, they get bogged down in the legalese, and they'll be looking through files like we're all gonna be like on edge. Nah, like they didn't have none of that here. They really brought the law so that the average person at home can feel this, and you could see his growth. Like this is what an arc is supposed to happen, a developmental arc for a character. Like he admits that he's not the best guy, he admits he doesn't know all this stuff, but he's not afraid to keep trying and he shies away from asking his girl for help because he doesn't know. He even says, like, during this part we're talking about, where he's like, you're gonna get mad at me because I don't know how you can help me right now, like you see him floundering, and he's not broken, he's not incompetent, he's not any of those things. He was a fish thrown into the deep end, and he's figuring it out. And the way he does it, the way he deconstructs people on the stand without being abrasive, without insulting them, like I really thought it was great. And like what Jassim's saying, like this stuff it's gold. It's cinema gold, and I have nothing else to add except the one thing which did throw me off a little bit was the way that Trotter guy, he's always such a good bad guy, and he just played the same guy, the same role throughout this thing. Whether it's Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, he's just so good at being that sleazeball. And when he slid the way he cross-examined the FBI guy, that guy's also always, a guy you don't really like and stuff, but the way he brought that hammer down, like without being pushy, without being abrasive, was awesome. And now to our guy in the top left corner. Back to you, Jeff, in the studio.
Excellent. All right, awesome. Thank you, Aston. Great job. Mr. Jeff, welcome back, sir. And we are talking basically about the beginning portion of the trial itself, leading up to when Mona Lisa storms out at the diner after he yells at her.
Yeah. Again, that's sort of makes up the the main body of the film again, and it's a solid part of the film. It has it has, your typical story arc where, you have character A, right? It starts off the film with a task or like a goal, right? They have to fulfill, and then in this part we get the part of that typical story where, of course, you got to throw that lead character the adversity, like make it seem like they've lost, or like have them lose a battle before like the final battle, like that kind of deal. Same kind of deal with this story. They have the same kind of structure of the story. Then they finalize it obviously with the actual ending trial scene that sort of tails off the film. Great secondary characters, and great use of the north-south dichotomy to create story off of that, and then using that to create the humor and all that too. A lot of the times, it's very ingenious, and I like seeing Joey D lay out that big fucking redneck dude.
The guy that they were questioning.
Yeah, he did that jump punt, the punt jump, the pool shooting guy.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that guy's great. That's hilarious. Like, they keep running into him, and he's like, "I got the money." He's like, "How do I know that's not just a 100 and then full rolled with ones?" It's like, it's all there. It's like, what? Yeah, sure. And what do you? So freaking funny, so damn funny. You're like, and that guy that plays that redneck, he's a great character actor that's been in a whole bunch of films. He's played all different types of roles, and he just was like perfect for that character. He was absolutely freaking hilarious. So yeah, definitely like that character. It was a great addition to the film. All right. Great job, everyone. Great job. All right, so where we left off, after Lisa has stormed out, then he goes after her. Basically, they end up, he goes back to the diner and starts looking at the stuff again, and is trying to figure out how he can save this thing. And as he's looking at the pictures, he notices the tire track picture again, and starts looking at both sets that he has. And as he's doing that, he realizes that there is a difference in that Lisa did help out in a way. And so he ends up going to look for her and ends up finding her, and basically is pulling her into the courtroom and have her go on the stand. As he's doing that, as he's getting her on the stand, he goes over to the sheriff and asks him to do him a favor and to look up, if there's any other, green metallic cars that have been, picked up in the last, few days. And so as he's doing that, he gets Miss Beto up to the thing, gets her on, starts, asking her questions, and she's being hostile. And they have a little banter back and forth, and then as he's asking her to look at the photo again, she realizes that the tire marks are not the same as the tire marks of the car that the guys have, and that it's actually a 1963 Pontiac Tempest that is responsible for the tire tracks, which exactly resembles the Buick Skylark because it's made by the same company, and that they could have made the same tire tracks. And so these tire tracks that they're looking at too, they end up, explaining that this particular car had independent rear suspension and positive traction, which allowed it to basically glide at a certain point and move a certain way. And how the tire tracks are, and the picture she took, that shows that it's not the same as the Skylark, because Skylark did not have that option at the time. So, so after he questions Lisa, excuse me, he basically ends up, asking her to get down, and he recalls Mr. Wilbur. And so, as he recalls him, he basically, discredits his own, asks him to discredit his own testimony, because as he looks at the picture, he realizes that is possible, that could be true. So then after he's done with Wilbur again, the sheriff arrives and he has him come up on the stand, and he testifies following Vinny's request that they have identified 2 men fitting Bill and Stan's description who have been arrested in Georgia for driving a stolen Pontiac Tempest and were in possession of the murder weapon. And so basically, after that information, his case, Mr. Trotter's case is dismantled, and he requests that they dismiss all charges. And basically, Vinny has won the case. And so, as Vinny's trying to get out of there before the judge can figure out that he's really not an accredited thing, everyone's thanking him and stuff like that, congratulating him, and even Holler congratulates him, saying that it's great to have you in my courtroom, basically, and that you are a very great person. And he kind of laughs and like, yeah, Mr. Callow, and as him and Lisa are drive away, she basically admits that she had Judge Malloy help convince Holler of Jerry Callow's successful legal career before her and Vinny bicker about their wedding plans while they're driving away, and the credits pull. All right. So what did you guys think about the last portion of the film? What was some of your favorite parts? What did you think about the whole car knowledge stuff that Lisa knows, the difference between a Pontiac Tempest and a difference between a Buick Skylark and all this kind of stuff, the interactions that go on, the kind of funniness, everyone's, position, and it kind of just your overall thoughts on the ending to the film. Let's start with you, Mr. Wrath.
Whoa, Cyber. This is like what, second time in a row? I am complimented by it. Let me put on my light real quick, try to create like a interrogation scene type of view. Okay. First of all, when I was watching the whole movie, literally I would hear like, Lisa talk about like cars at times, like car parts and stuff throughout the movie. I'm just like, what's the purpose of this? But then we see in the end that her car knowledge is what saved those boys. And this whole time, I'm like, that was so brilliant of the writer. Shit, what is his name? Like John Lautner or something like that? What's the writer's name? Dale Lautner. Okay, yeah. That was like so smart of him. Like, you see Lisa, she's like the supportive fiance. Like you don't really expect much about her, especially like, being female. You don't even expect her to be a hero at all, heroine. But then in here, she's the heroine. We never expect that. We always expect Vinny to be the hero. But yeah, he helped a lot. But we have to admit the true hero here is Lisa. Without Lisa, I don't think Vinny could have won that whole case. Let's just be real here. Also in my notes, it's like, let's see. I don't know if we could all agree on this, but do you all see like a yin-yang relationship between Lisa and Vinny? Like, like they're both pivotal together to help those 2 boys. I mean, I had it in my notes. I can't explain it well because somehow I lost those thoughts in my head. But yeah, that's just it. She's an unexpected hero. Okay, unexpected heroine. You guys can just add to the points. I think they're great.
Excellent. Jeff, any thoughts, sir?
Yeah, it's the ending of the film is really well done. Just like the introduction of the film, it really. No, I don't have the trailer, Cyber. I'm sorry. No, I thought it was a pretty solid ending. I enjoyed it, how I'd forgotten that they wrap up the whole arc of the film in trial, basically. I'd forgotten that. So I thought that was really cool that that it goes down like that, he has like those 3 hours or whatever to win, like the case, kind of like almost like the judge says. So and then he pulls that off, which is really cool. It was really like redeeming for him, and then having him make Marissa Tomei's character be a part of the case and all that was a little bit far-fetched, but it still works, like it services the film. So it's a solid ending. I really didn't even realize that Marissa Tomei's character had called the other judge or whatever. I didn't even realize that until like now. Yeah, good ending, good film.
Okay. Aston?
Thanks. I had a blast. Like that ending, everything from the cross of the FBI guy to her performance in that final part really brought it all together. You could tell she wasn't doing multiple takes of it. It was just, they focused in on her and she fed off the other actor. Like it was just so good the way it was delivered. And Pesci just stepped back and let her do her thing. And it was amazing because when you have projects like this, I can imagine, Lisa was the new upstart star about to make it and stuff. And I can, in some movies you could tell when, actors are fighting for more screen time. You didn't feel any of that here. It was just amazing the way it interlocked. To piggyback off what our boy Khan said, he killed it. Like he said it best. Like there's this symbiotic yin and yang synergy going on with them too that I would dare to say I don't think I've seen it. Definitely not in comedies, like a lot of those bad Adam Sandler movies, the one with Jennifer Aniston. Like this, I think, is like a clinic for anyone who's trying to write like a good couple where they do have conflict, but they still come together, pause. They come together and they work it all out so well and so organically. The ending was amazing. How he closes it out. He's still nervous till the very end, like that little chip on his shoulder, like worried, oh shit, I might be going in the big house now after I just got these boys off. And having watched it after 5 years since I last saw it, you still pick out certain things. You still see how it really is in that setting. You really feel like they're in the deep South. Everyone stayed in character. There was no, you don't see any mistakes, whether it's written, whether it's production value, everything just came together in such a great way. And that is such a rewarding ending because yes, it's a happy ending, but it isn't one of those hokey, campy, everything ever, no plot armor was involved. Every single thing leading up to that conclusion made sense. And all I can say is great acting all around. Terrific comedy. Definitely one. I would have it as one of the best top 10 comedies of all time in my list for sure.
Excellent. Awesome. So if you had to pick one person out of the film, who do you think was the best of the film? Started with you, Wrath.
Oh man, third time in a row. Okay. The best person. It's difficult because it's like, I guess I know everyone's gonna either choose Vinny or Lisa, but I'm going to choose the judge. And the reason why I say the judge, okay, first of all, I'm letting you guys choose the other people. Okay, so I'm going to choose someone who's underrated. The thing about the judge, okay, the judge is a very pivotal person when it comes to all these legal shows, legal movies, all that stuff. Like when you see the yin and yang couple, Vinny and Lisa arguing, and I think it was Vinny who's like, Your Honor, can I interview my hostile witness? You know what I'm talking about, like that scene? I don't know the phrases exactly they said, but
permission to approach my witness, to treat my witness as hostile. Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, and then the judge though, he's like something like, "Are you guys related, or how do you guys know each other?" And then he's like, "Yeah, she's my fiance." And then he's like, oh, no wonder. It's something like that. And it's like, the judge has to play a role too with all this dynamic stuff, Even in the beginning, when like the judge is like, you better know these rules, because here in Alabama, we actually follow by the book. Not like you guys in New York who, what do you say? Like, I know people say that about Silicon Valley too. Like, we don't follow the book, something like that. Do you guys remember that exact phrase?
I think it was something like a casual practice of the law or something like
Yeah,
they were very
yeah.
casual
So,
about it or something. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, he's just underrated in so many ways. That's why I'm choosing it. I mean, if it's someone else, I don't think he would have pulled off that great of a job compared to this guy. I mean, traditional Southerner, but somehow he just does it amazingly. Like, 10 out of 10. I'm done.
Okay. Do you have a favorite person that you think's the best actor, Jeff?
Not really. I guess Joe D probably, little Joey, if anybody, because he's really the glue of the film. So yeah, him probably.
Okay. Aston?
I mean, you know what? Now that Jasmine said it, the judge was amazing, but I got to go with Joe Pesci. As a short guy, I got to go with Joe Pesci. I'm short. I got to go with Joe Pesci. There's not too many of us out there. Tom Cruise, the last one left. So definitely, we're not giving ratings now. We're giving it next question, right?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay. So for me, it has to be Joe Pesci. Salute to Joe Pesci. Definitely.
Excellent. I'd have to give it to Austin Pendleton as John Gibbons. I really enjoyed his character. I thought it was a great little portion apart that was super funny. And I just really enjoyed his character. I thought he was a great addition to that already great cast. Because, I mean, everyone's going to pick Marissa Tomei and, Joe Pesci. It's most definitely. So, that's just so, like, what everyone picked. So I got to go with Austin Pendleton for myself. I thought he did a really fantastic job. So going around and doing ratings, starting with you, Jeff.
For what it is, for the comedy film, sort of film style film that it is, it's definitely a 9.5. Solid, really solid film for what it is and for its time.
All right, Aston.
Definitely, I got to give it a 9.5, just like with Jeff. Like 10 to me is a very hard grade to give, but I definitely got to go with my boy Jeff over there with a 9.5.
Con.
I'm going to go with a 10.
Ooh, look at that. Mr. Con give it a 10. Holy shit. I got to give it a 10 too as well, because it's one of my all-time favorite movies now. Ever since watching it, I can't get enough of it. It is so well done. I absolutely love films that have to do with trials, these courtroom trials and stuff like that, but that have humor or are super thriller or anything like that. I absolutely love those types of films. That's why I'm a huge fan of 12 Angry Men, one of my favorite films of all time. Runaway Jury, anything like that. I love these trial films that have that aspect. They're just so fun. And this film does that so well with the comedy. And Jonathan Lynn directed the hell out of this film. And I am just really think that he did a phenomenal job with this film. It definitely has a lot of great quirks, just like Clue does. And I absolutely love Clue too. So I think that, I definitely enjoy Jonathan Lynn as a director. So I think he did a great job. So giant 10 for me. All right. So that is the end of the review, guys. I'm going to give it over to my trusty sidekick, co-host, brother from another mother, Mr. TrueKnowledge, to take us out.
Okay. Well, of course, we want to thank Wrath Khan for coming on. We appreciate you, Wrath. Thank you for joining the show, as always.
Thanks for the invite.
I'll start with Aston. Aston has a new YouTube channel, so we'll put that on blast. You don't have any content up yet, though. You got to get some content up.
Yes. I'm going to be uploading clips of me playing like older Xbox games, PS3 games, that era. I would say, like, for me, the golden era, 7th gen console. So I'm going to be playing Halo, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, Temple of Elemental Evil. Please check me out at Aston Mike Delgado at YouTube. You can check me out at the website also. I'm just starting, so there will be stuff there soon. And again, a huge thank you to everybody in the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Super shout out to my boy Jeff. You know, he slams harder than Jeff Hardy. Our sly one, Cybo over there, the wisest. You know, I'm the flyest, and our boy Jassim, just badass as usual. I haven't seen Khan, and it's been like a month and a half, 2 months, bro. I'm just so glad to be on the stream with all of you guys. Thank you so much for everything, and mucho gracias to everyone listening and watching.
Excellent.
Sir.
Yeah, so if you enjoy me as a moderator on the panel, you can check out my solo content. You'll find me under Cyberneticshark. Find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, X, Facebook, all of them pretty much there. You can check them out. And you can see there my most recent videos there are the Agatha All Along trailer reaction and Fly Me to the Moon movie review. If you haven't seen either of those, definitely check them out. They just dropped the second trailer for Agatha All Along, so definitely check that out as well. I basically made mine before they dropped that trailer, so it's pretty much about the first trailer, but the second trailer has a lot what's in the first trailer, so pretty much the same thing. But yeah, definitely check that out if you haven't seen those. If you haven't checked out my shorts recently, I put up my 2 most recent for the film Trap and Borderlands. Just went and saw those on Wednesday. Really enjoyable films. Borderlands kicked ass. I don't care what anybody says. It was a fantastic, fun film. I thought Eli Roth did a great job. Both of those will have reviews soon. And just keep on trucking, people. Keep on, adding and doing all that good stuff. And watching and keep on subscribing. And appreciate it all. New and old followers. You guys are rocking it. And thank you so much for watching.
Next week of the Bleeding Edge. What's up, Dom? Next week of the Bleeding Edge. We're rocking on Monday Batman, the Cape Crusader, episodes 3 and 4. On Wednesday, Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox. So that'll be dope. And then Batman Begins on Friday. Next Friday. We'll see you guys next time. God bless you. We love all of you. We'll see you on the next show. Peace. We out. Eventually.
Hey, yo, Jay, can we get some ratchet one time? Look, I don't want to talk. How you try and press the kid and read it, you was soft. All you know is